Thank you, everyone, for coming today. This is our Lyme Disease Resource Center educational series. And today we have Kim Weeber, who's going to be talking about Rife machines. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Maria. So, I want to first say it's great to see everybody, and I want to thank Maria for doing such a wonderful job with the Lyme Disease Resource Center and making these programs available for people. And I also want to say, even though it's great to see you, I'm so sorry that you are dealing with tick-borne disease. It is really a scourge. It is challenging, and it is misunderstood, and it is expensive. And I feel for you. It's a tough one. So, but we have support. And so this is always the good thing. Johanna, I don't know if you heard it's being recorded. If you don't want to be on camera, you don't have to, however you want to work it. Okay. So I'll just say a little bit about my story. I love the outdoors. I love to hike and bike and ski and everything I can. And I had heard about Lyme disease, but I didn't really know that much about it. I kind of thought, oh, well, it's something that if you get it, you take some antibiotics and then that'll be the end of it. So I didn't know enough. And back in May of 2012, I ended up getting a tick, and it was behind my shoulder. I couldn't see it, and I felt something like, what the heck? It was an engorged tick. So, took it to my PCP and got a dose of doxycycline. Ooh. and I wasn't quite sure, if something else was needed or should be done. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then after 3 weeks, I started getting symptoms. I went back to my PCP and I got 2 weeks of doxycycline. Ooh. And after 2 weeks of doxycycline, I was not doing well at all. I kept getting more and more symptoms, and it was probably more than a lot of people get. I was getting very, very severe knee pain, couldn't walk across the parking lot. Brain fog and fatigue and kind of just a mess. You all know the story. Went back to my PCP. And my PCP said, you've had your antibiotics, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. Oh, wow. Talk about medical failure. That's horrible. No blood tests, no nothing, right? So I had a friend in the community who was an infectious disease doctor, and I said, would you be willing to see me? And he said yes. So that was after a couple more weeks of things just getting bad. So he looked at everything and he said, you certainly have classical Lyme disease. I'm going to give you more antibiotics. So he put me on Ceftin for a month. And I did start getting better. And also during that time, there was another doctor in the community whose daughter had chronic Lyme disease, and he had told me about the Byron White formulas and herbs. And I was like, I don't know. But I thought, well, let me try a few of these. So I got some herbs, some of the Buhner formula herbs and whatever, but I still didn't really know that much about it. And I did end up going to see Hoadley in Springfield, who was one of the more, quote, experts in the area. And she said, oh, you need more treatment. But I was already feeling better at that time. By this time we're getting into the fall, and I was like, well, I guess I'm okay. So I stopped the herbs, not good, and just kind of went on about my business. And was seeming to do fine. And then I remember this, it was April 15th, tax day. I was at a seminar, and all of a sudden this like neurological thing came over me. I got this really loud tinnitus. I started getting like nerve pain in my face and severe fatigue. It was kind of this sudden thing. And I was like, what in the world? And so I ended up going back to Hoadley again, and I was like, what do you think? She said, well, I don't really know. Go see a neurologist. So I went to see a neurologist, and he's like, oh, I think you have MS. So he got, you all know this story, right? So I had an MRI, and it's like, oh, there are white matter changes, and, let's do blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so going down that whole path wasn't helpful, and then Hoadley put me back on the doxycycline, but basically what was happening, I was just getting worse and worse and herxing more and more, and I actually ended up with what's called trigeminal neuralgia, where you get this shooting nerve pain across your face, along with horrible tinnitus and lots of other things. So basically, it was one of those times where you wish you were dead. So I went through that in 2013, and it was at that time that my acupuncturist, Terry Tangretti, said, I think you need to go see Robert Abettiello because he has a Rife machine and it might help you. So I went over to Robert's office, and he had a fair amount of experience with Lyme disease since he had it himself, and he said, yeah, I think this will help. And I said, I'm really sensitive. He said, okay, we'll do a small treatment. So we did a small, short treatment with the Rife machine, and the herx was so bad I thought I was going to die. For 3 days, I was totally inflamed, all these neurological symptoms, anxiety and nerve pain, and I couldn't sleep, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was horrible. I was like, this thing works. It's the worst herx I've ever had in my life. So after 3 days, it calmed down to some degree, and I would go see him, and I'd say, just do a minute of the treatment of this. It's so much, too much. So he did. And then I started adding up, okay, how much does it cost to go and get a treatment from Robert? And how long is this going to take? And I thought, oh, this is going to be really expensive. So I went online, I went on eBay, and I found a used Rife machine. I didn't know much about them. I was just like, it's a Rife machine, I'm going to buy it. So I bought it, and I started using it at home. And it was interesting because what I would notice is I would have to do these very tiny short treatments, really seriously a minute. I would do a treatment, and all of a sudden I would feel so much better for this short period of time. It was the fog lifted, things felt better. And then after 30 to 60 minutes, the herx would start, and then be like, oh no, here we go. So then I would have to do all the things that you need to do for a Herxheimer reaction. And so this went on over a period of time, and basically what happened was that with time, I could do treatments for a longer and longer period of time. I could use more and more frequencies, and I would gradually have less and less of a herx reaction. But it was a slow process, and it's not really, in some ways, a very scientific process, because you have to do by trial and error. I'm feeling really awful right now. Is it because the Lyme has flared up and I need to use the Rife machine more? Or is it because I used the Rife machine too much and I'm herxing? So it's there are ways in which it's very difficult and confusing. The one thing to remember is, if you're ever unsure, stop rifing. Because if you are giving yourself a herx reaction, it's better just to stop. Let things clear. See if you can figure out something else to feel better for a while. But it gradually got better. And I'm going to go into more of the details with the Rife machine specifically. But I went to a seminar in Worcester. It was probably maybe 2 years. Maybe I'm going to get this mixed up. Johanna, you might remember. Maybe I shouldn't say your name. What year did we go up to Maine to get that GB 6000?
I'm trying to remember. I can't. I remember getting the money to send you up to Maine to get it.
Yeah. So basically what happened is Johanna said, what's the best Rife machine? I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't look it up. So then I started researching Rife machines. And I think this happened before the Worcester thing. So it turns out that there were some engineers who had found an old machine that was built by Royal Raymond Rife, who we're going to talk about here, and was stored in somebody's, storage unit. And they pulled it out and they reverse engineered it. Like, how does this thing work? And so they created the GB4000 Rife machine and MOPA plasma tube that you can use to treat. And so Johanna and I went and got this machine, and she got the electronic part that makes the frequencies, and I used the plasma tube. And so I had another machine I could hook it up to. So I decided that was probably the best machine. Expensive as all get out, but it was the original Rife machine in a way, right? Buying it was really challenging because they couldn't say that it was used to treat anything. They couldn't give you the book with the machine. You had to buy it separately because the FDA was shutting down companies if they had any inkling they were trying to treat anything. And so it's it's a little dicey, but nonetheless I got the thing, and it was really helpful because I could set up in my bathroom when I was taking my Epsom salts bath every night and trying to survive, and put the plasma tube next to the tub and let it send frequencies at me as I'm laying there in the tub. And gradually things improved. And the nice thing about that machine is that we could use some of the frequencies that were known to work for Lyme disease. You could set the machine up to use them specifically. So then I went to this seminar in Worcester, and there was an engineering type guy there. And he said, I cured my Lyme disease in a year with a Rife machine. I'm like, seriously? And he shows this little machine. Actually, let me just show it to you. Hold on a sec. Show and tell. This little thing here, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. It's the Spooky 2. Maybe if I come back here. It's the Spooky 2 Rife machine. Oh, it's upside down. No, it's not. Okay. Anyway, you can see the little spooky guy there. And he was like, I cured myself in a year with this thing. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It's like, how is that possible? This doesn't really have anything to do with what Rife created, I don't think. I can't see how it does. And it works on some principle I scientifically don't understand. I'm like, ugh. So I thought, well, I don't know. I was going to visit a friend in Florida. I couldn't take my huge big thing with me, and I didn't want to not treat. I'm like, oh, let me order one of those stupid things and take it with me. So I took it down to Florida, and I thought, oh, let me try it. And I turned it on, and I ran it, and I herxed. I'm like, oh my gosh, this crazy thing works. So the little Spooky 2 machine works really well, actually. Who knows, right? But it does. So anyway, I did lots of things to treat Lyme disease, but the Rife machine was definitely one of the more important things. It really, really can kill these buggers that are floating around in there. So I guess if people have questions now, should I take them or should I wait till the end, Maria?
Probably wait till the end so that you can give a little bit of background on these machines.
All right. So let's see if I can get the slide presentation up here. Oops, that's not it. Oh, you know what? I gotta actually turn it on first. Hold on just a sec.
I've got the backup just in case.
Oh, good, thanks. Turn on the slide presentation. Slideshow, okay. All right, here we go. So here we have Royal Raymond Rife on the left, and another doctor or somebody on the right, and that, I believe, is his Rife machine. Okay, disclaimer. The FDA does not approve Rife machines or recognize Rife machines. No claims can be made. Okay, all I'm telling you here is my own experience and my own opinions, and I can be very opinionated. So if you think I'm crazy, you don't want to listen to me, I'm totally fine with that. This presentation was actually the one that the guy in Worcester had given to the Rife community, to the Lyme community down there. So thank you, Steve, for this presentation, and I just adjusted it a little bit. So, Royal Raymond Rife, Midwesterner, went to Germany and worked for Zeiss, where they made these wonderful microscopes. And he was interested in medicine. So even though he wasn't a doctor per se, he had an honorary degree because he was really interested in using microscopes to look at these small organisms. Moved to San Diego, and then he built this amazing microscope. This was so much better than any other microscope of the time. He could actually look at living organisms, and I don't really understand how these things work, but it was something that was better than anything that we have today in some ways. Okay, so he finished that microscope in 1933 so he could do his experiments. And so he would take a bacteria, he'd look under the microscope, and then after he was looking at them, he made a frequency generator, and he was subjecting different bacteria to different frequencies. When he experimented with these and he subjected them to frequencies, he would notice that it would affect the way the bacteria acted. He looked at it and he found that it would respond to these frequencies by changing the way it acted. He also was thinking that there were specifically viruses that caused cancer and looking at those in the microscope. So he was looking at all these different organisms and looking at what frequencies do to them. He was showing this to the doctors in the area, and they thought this was pretty good stuff. And they let him work on some patients that were have difficult cases, and he was helping them. And as he was doing these experiments, he was writing down, like, staph is killed by these frequencies, syphilis is killed by these frequencies, and so on. So he really was able to kind of keep track of what frequencies killed which organisms. So in 1934, the doctors decided to let him prove that this machine worked. So the plasma tube is on the top there. It is that kind of round ball. It's filled with noble gases like argon and neon and helium. And there are two frequencies that go through it, the carrier frequency and then the treatment frequency. And the light shines on the person, and the frequency is taken in by their body and affects the bacteria. So when he was doing this experiment, they treated these people for 3 months, and after the first 3 months of treatment, 14 of the 16 patients who were terminally ill cancer patients were pronounced cured. And then the last 2 had further treatments and were also pronounced cured. So this is actually a really big deal. He was curing people of cancer. Now, at the time, the people that had the power, Carnegie and Mellon, were in the oil business, and they really believed that the best type of medicine was based on drugs and surgery. So they hired Abraham Flexner to go around and look at all the medical schools and decide which ones were okay and which ones were not okay. And they had very specific criteria. Now, it's true that, in the early 1900s, there was probably a lot of stuff going on that was not okay. But there was other stuff going on that was labeled as not okay, which was actually fine, like all the homeopathic schools, the women's medical schools, the chiropractic schools, the osteopathic schools, the herbal schools, everything else that was not, quote, Western medicine. So Abraham Flexner went around, wrote a report, and they closed bunches of medical schools, and they decided that electromedicine was quackery, just like all the rest of this stuff. So, Flexner report. The physiological laboratory enables the beginner to observe the functions of the body in an operation and to ascertain how they're affected by various conditions. It banishes from his mind metaphysical principles such as vital force, depression, etc. And he called a lot of people unconscionable quacks. So, nearly half of the medical schools were merged or closed. I went to school in Philadelphia, and they still had Hahnemann Medical School down there. Hahnemann was the physician in Germany who started homeopathy. And they didn't close the school. Because of the school's charter, I think they're still required to teach one course on homeopathy, or maybe it's one lecture on homeopathy, but nothing else. Everything just got basically wiped out. And the AMA became the gatekeeper for medical education. Electromedicine was not an approved type of therapy, and electromedicine is still viewed with some suspicion and considered less effective than drugs. Can I take a little side trip here? We have time, I think. So, there was an osteopathic physician, I think in Rochester, New York, that was looking at how salamanders are able to regenerate their limbs. His name was Robert Becker. And they were looking at all different kinds of things. They were like, is there some kind of chemical? What's going on? And what they found is that there's a very, very low current in the realm of microamps, which is called the current of injury. So when the salamander had the leg cut, a current of injury would occur at that site and was instrumental in helping the healing process. And so he was looking at what is this current of injury and how is it that this can have something to do with healing when we have learned that everything that has to do with healing has to do with chemicals. So he started experimenting with electromedicine and found that it actually did something. And you know what happened? He lost his research dollars. He lost his professorship. They refused to publish his studies in the medical journals. So he published in the lay press a book called The Body Electric, which is really a wonderful book. He couldn't get his studies published. It's just crazy. But even that lay publication made enough splash that people started paying attention. But it took years until people were like, electricity does something? Really? Seriously does something? And now we have things like TENS units, we have bone stimulators for fractures that don't heal, we have, all different kinds of electrotherapy. And they still don't believe that a Rife machine is possibly capable of killing bacteria and won't look at the research. So there you go. So, frequencies, a rate of vibration that constitutes a wave, okay? It can be electromagnetic, it can be a sound wave, it can be a light wave, a radio wave. And so these frequencies are, you can see from the chart up here, go from very slow and very to very fast, depending on how short they are. Okay, the visible spectrum is that small part in the middle there. Okay, so we can create any frequency with a Rife machine if we find that it is a frequency that can help to disable bacteria. Okay. My session will scientific stuff. And he first did 625 hertz, and he noticed that these kinds of things might happen. The tail might vibrate, appear broken, because the Borrelia is a spirochete. It's like a snake-like thing. That's why it has a tail. It can bend back and forth from the center, spin, or straighten out. So the spirochetes that reacted died. In other words, they stopped moving sometime between 20 minutes and 2 hours after he had applied that frequency. So then he tried 612 hertz, 920, and 306. So these are what are called harmonics. The frequencies are related to each other mathematically. And he tested 306 and found it to be the most effective. In fact, he had a Herxheimer for 3 days from looking in the microscope. So 306, a good frequency. And then he made a machine with more coils, and he would hold the coil around different parts of his body, head, chest, legs, waist, 30 seconds per position, 3 minutes total, and then getting a Herx reaction, and then getting better after the Herx went away. So he did this treatment once a month for 6 months before most of his symptoms disappeared. And note, care should be taken in starting treatment because of large Herx reactions. And he said, expect 2 years for complete recovery. So, the way he was doing it was experimenting with frequencies that he saw affected the bacteria and then using those frequencies to treat. The other way of doing it is frequency sweeps. So you can be a small frequency sweep. So we know that 610 and 612 both kill the Borrelia bacteria. So you could sweep from 610 to 612 with your Rife machine, hitting all the little frequencies in between. So that's one way to do it. Some people also do big sweeps over large ranges. So one of the things that they were noticing also with the bacteria, besides just like, bending or spinning, were these blebs that they would change the shape of the cell wall. Okay. So unexposed Borrelia bacteria did not get these blebs. Ones that were treated with the Rife machine did get these blebs. Also, so he was also looking at biofilm. So biofilm is a chemical matrix that bacteria can kind of put themselves in to hide and to not be exposed to the immune system. And so he noticed that the biofilm could kind of like open up or pop during this treatment with frequencies. Once the biofilm opens up, then the immune system can get to the spirochetes. This is a picture of a little small organism called a paramecium. And you can see on the lower right side of it, it looks kind of uneven and kind of broken. So this paramecium, poor thing, was exposed to 1150 hertz from a Rife device, and it started falling apart. So you all know when you have a singer that can sing a certain frequency and it'll shatter a glass? That is what happens with the Rife machine. They call it the mortal oscillatory rate. Okay. I'm sorry this won't work, but if you could copy that that link, Maria, you could send that to people and you can watch it online. It is actually pretty amazing to watch this because people have shown this works. They put it online. Do you have that now? Okay. All right. So here is another doctor who was breaking up biofilm with ultrasound. So ultrasound is also a frequency, and the intensity or strength of it affects the tissue penetration. So, in other words, frequencies can be used to kill bacteria in several ways. And so it's not just the electromagnetic frequencies from the Rife machine. You can also use ultrasound. All right, now we have the Spooky 2 machine. The Spooky 2 machine does not work or can work with contact, where you put pads on your body, like you could put one on one hand, on the other hand, and it would go through your body, or one on the top and one on the bottom would go through your body, which is a typical way of treating with contact. Or the plasma tube, which is what Rife did. He had that tube with gas, and then the electromagnetic frequencies would go through it. And then remote. The Spooky 2 can use the plasma tube, it can use contact, but it can also use remote. And we're talking remote. You don't even have to be in the same room or even in the same country. Go figure. It's hands-free, and it can be used while you're sleeping, while you're walking around your house, while you're cooking, whatever you're doing. It doesn't work as quickly as contact or plasma tube, but it does work given time. This is from Steve's, it's right from Steve's lecture. And I'm looking at this going, you've got to be kidding me. I have no idea how this works. It's called scalar waves. I have no idea how it works. I like to know how things work. But it works. That's all I can say. I'll tell you. So I got myself a Spooky 2 because I wanted to travel with it. And I brought it home and I used it to treat, Lyme disease. And then one day I was like, I wonder if it really actually can treat anything else. Like, it's such bullshit, right? So I was getting a cold. I was like, well, let's just see. Guess what? You can use it to treat colds too. You can use it to treat a bunch of stuff. So, hey, there are some things I think where they say you can treat things, and I go, no, that's just too far. You're really out of your mind now. But it doesn't hurt to try, right? So, okay. Transmission methods. Based on research from the former Soviet Union, they use DNA. So you basically cut your fingernails and you put them in this little holder on the Spooky 2 machines, and it makes scalar waves to transmit energy via your DNA. So Albert Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Modern physics calls it quantum entanglement. And I have no idea how it works. Contact. We know how that works. You hold one electrode, you hold another electrode, the electricity runs from one arm to the other. That one's easy, and we know that works. And I think this is true. It is more powerful than the remote transmission of the Spooky, but not as powerful as the plasma tube. The plasma tube can go everywhere in your body. It isn't just from one electrode to another one. So if you have Lyme in your brain and you're going from one hand to the other, you might not get so much of that frequency up in your brain. If you're sitting there in front of the tube, it's going to go everywhere that light is shining. Okay. And there's a Spooky 2 hooked up with a plasma tube. So if you want the plasma tube, you can get it with Spooky 2 also. Because I already had one, I didn't buy that. Okay, so plasma tubes filled with noble gases. They use a radio signal to carry the treatment frequencies. Distance is the issue here. So the plasma ray tubes emit only 95% of the energy you put in, and then the farther away you are from it, the less energy you get from it. So ideally you want to be very, very close, like really, really close if you can. Although it is kind of interesting, I took my big machine down to a Lyme meeting one time where we wanted to try it out, and everybody was sitting in the room. I mean, they weren't close. We're like, 10, 12, 15 feet away. And there were people that said, I had a herx, even just with that, even that far away. So I do think these plasma tubes can put out a fair amount of energy and have an effect even if you're not super duper close. But you can see that the farther away you go, the less power you get. So Rife and the doctors that used his equipment had the tube within a few inches of the body. I didn't used to do that when I was in the tub. I just had it sitting beside the tub. I'm like, that's good enough. It worked. So here's the coil for the Doug coil machine. And that's the Doug coil machine. And this is the GB4000. This is the machine that was reverse engineered by engineers that really based it on Rife's actual machine. And you can use it for contact, run the plasma tube, and I think it's pretty good. It has a lot of different settings. It's well made, and it's very expensive. And that's the MOPA. That's with the plasma tube lit, so you can see what it looks like when the light's going through. That's the light that shines on you, and used with the GB4000. Okay, I'll just say this now. If you're going to buy a machine, just get the Spooky 2. It's way cheap. It's effective. It's not as fancy, but hey, if it works, it's good. I don't know if we need to go into chronic Lyme disease. What do you think, Maria?
Brief overview.
Brief overview, okay. There, as most of you probably know, there is a lot of political stuff that has affected the problem with Lyme disease. Just briefly, in Lyme, Connecticut, there was a woman who had some public health background and was wondering why all these children in her neighborhood were getting juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, because that's not normal to have a large population of kids in one area getting JRA. So she went to the Connecticut Health Department, and they said, let's get a rheumatologist up here to take a look. So they got this guy, Alan Steer, a young guy right out of his residency, to come up and take a look at this. So he was, examining them and running blood studies and doing all this stuff, and he was like, oh, this is really interesting. We know that there are times where people develop a reaction, where they develop like an autoimmune reaction to some kind of virus. And I think that's what's going on here. So they wrote all this stuff up. They did not consider that it might be a bacterial disease. He did not do a thorough literature search, which would have shown stuff published in Sweden that described Borrelia-like diseases a long time ago. So he was like, I'm famous, I discovered a new disease, I can publish it, I'm this great, and I'm great. And he was at Yale, so of course they're like, oh yes, these Yale doctors, they're so smart. So they published their thing. And then Willy Bergdorfer, who was also kind of looking at what is this, was looking under his microscope and realized, oh, guess what? These are spirochetes. These are bacteria in this disease. This is not a viral disease. it's an infectious disease. And so then the Yale cohort was like, no, I really think it's a reaction. The body's just reacting. It's not just a bacterial disease, right? So they were like, okay, we'll give you some antibiotics and see what happens. So they undertreated these people that had these symptoms with antibiotics, and the thing didn't go away. And then they were like, see, we're right. It's not really a bacterial disease. It's just the body reacting, right? So they were not taking into account that the Borrelia bacteria replicates very slowly. So staph or strep might double every hour, and the Borrelia doubles every day. Bacteria tends to be killed by antibiotics during its growth phase. So if you are giving a bacteria a week of antibiotics that grows so slowly, like 24 times more slowly than these other bacteria, you can't just give a week of antibiotics. You have to give 24 more times that antibiotic to actually try to kill these bacteria. All right? So basically, the disease has been undertreated forever, and because the guys from Lyme kind of own the journals, they've never actually done a study which shows how long you actually need to treat this bacteria. The only thing that's even come close is the work done at Johns Hopkins by Zhang and his associates, who were looking at the Borrelia in a petri dish and exposing them to different antibiotics. And basically, because Borrelia can go dormant, they needed to treat these bacteria in a petri dish 4 times with 3 antibiotics to kill all of them. You all know what that means, don't you? Can't get them in the human body very easily at all, especially with antibiotics, because they go into biofilms, they become dormant, they do all kinds of nasty things to hide. And so it's possible, not uncommon at all, to get a chronic disease where you haven't killed all the bacteria and where your body keeps reacting. The thing which makes it more challenging is that it isn't actually just a disease of bacteria after a while, because it can screw up the immune system something fierce. So if you've had Epstein-Barr in the past, Epstein-Barr is going to come back again. So you have immune dysfunction, and then you end up with all the toxins from the bacteria as the antibiotics kill them or the herbs kill them. I better change pages because it's going to run me out of time. Let me do this for a moment here. And so you get, let's say you get stress because you also have mold in your house. So you have toxins from mold, you have toxins from these bacteria, your immune system isn't working properly, and you happen to have genetics that you don't detox well. Well, of course you're going to be sick for a long time, because there's so much going on that your system is overwhelmed and overloaded. So the Rife Machine is just one little piece of the picture. There's so much more that needs to be done. But killing the bacteria is useful. So the Rife Machine has been proven in experiments to kill Borrelia, even though it is denied by the powers that be. Experimenters have gotten Herx reactions following application of the frequencies. I've gotten Herx reactions following the application of the frequencies. If you use a Rife rather than or in addition to oral antibiotics, then you don't have the side effects of the antibiotics, which can be horrible, as you all know. Talk about wrecking your gut. Once you have a Rife Machine, you don't have to keep paying for it. You've gotten it. That's it. The Spooky 2 is cheap. I mean, in the relative sense. In the relative world of Lyme disease, the Spooky 2 is cheap. It's like less than $500. I think it's like $350 or something like that right now. Herx reaction, although uncomfortable, you might be able to titrate it a little more easily than with antibiotics. because antibiotics have a half-life sometimes that lasts for a while. So you take an antibiotic, and let's say it has a half-life of 48 hours. Oh, you got that in your system for a while. So once you start herxing, it's going to be in there causing more herx. It's pretty nasty. The Rife Machine, you treat it, you've herxed, you're like, oh, I better do less last time. Okay, I treated for 2 minutes today, just 1 minute next time, and I'm going to give it 3 days to wash out in between. I'm not going to stack up the treatments too fast, okay? And hopefully, if you do it like at night and you herx at night, you still might be okay the next day to do whatever you need to do. That always works pretty well for me. Okay. The other thing is that with anything you're doing, you're only going to kill a certain number of bacteria. The Rife Machine will only kill a certain percentage. Antibiotics will only kill a certain percentage. So part of this with the Borrelia is that when they change form, they're not subject to the frequency making them vibrate and break up. That's why Doug McLean says multiple applications for years, okay? And because this is not recognized by the scientific establishment, they basically haven't done any research, so we can't really know for sure what the best treatment is. So people just try it and they publish it. There is a list of frequencies called the Consolidated Annotated Frequency List, CAFL, which you can buy online, which tells different frequencies for all these things. And then we have the various machines. So Doug McLean started this thing. He published it online so everybody could treat themselves. People start making machines, and then people are like, we can make money on this. So then you get all these companies making Rife machines, and the FDA shutting them down, and all this stuff going on, and ours is the best, and ours is the best. And so it's been hard to find a machine that's actually good and works and is used for experiments because the FDA shuts them down. There is a company in Canada whose name escapes me right now that made a very good Rife machine, was approved by the Canadian government, and actually did an experiment that showed that it worked and did get it published in a medical journal. Maybe that name might pop up later. But yeah, so anyway, we don't really know. A lot of this is experimenting on ourselves, but for most of us, we experiment on ourselves anyway, because what else are you going to do? You don't want to just like give up, right? All right. So, Rife had to deal with this ability of the pathogens to change form and shift to a different mortal oscillatory frequency. This is something I would notice. I would use these frequencies and then they would work, and then they would stop working. I'd be like, oh, what happened here? So it's one thing you do have to do is you have to be constantly shifting and looking for new frequencies. This is actually one thing that the Spooky 2 is good at because it can scan you for what frequencies work. It basically is looking at your heart rate. Does this frequency change your heart rate? And if it does, it marks that as a frequency that's doing something. We don't know what it does, but it does something. So that's one thing that you can use then to determine, well, what frequencies do I want to use to treat? So I would just kind of rotate frequencies because, you know, you read all the ones that these work and these work and these work. So we'll try this for a while, we'll try this for a while, we'll try this for a while, rotate through them. We've been talking about Herx reaction. I think probably most of you know what it is already. The bacteria release toxins that really your body doesn't like, and it makes you feel really like crap. So there are ways to treat Herx reactions, and it's important to do that, and it's important to not keep treating once you get Herx. Stop, 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 okay? GEMSEC says it's an indispensable clinical tool in the treatment of persistent Lyme disease or neuroborreliosis because it tells you it's working. So, Johanna, should I take your question now?
It's not a question. It's basically that I've used, if you know how to do damn.
It's okay.
But
Little brain fog's all right.
readings for yourself,
Yeah,
you can um, some people use a pendulum.
yeah,
I use muscle testing.
great.
If you know how to muscle test, you can ask, is this frequency helpful now?
Yep,
And depending on your ability to do that, I've been using that to tell when and which frequencies to use.
great. That's great. Yeah, if you can use that kind of thing, that is really great. So thank you, Hannah. All right. So, um, I'm not sure I agree with this, that a treatment that lacks a Herxheimer response places the diagnosis of persistent Borrelia in doubt. I'm not sure I believe that. I'll have to think about that more. I haven't read that for a while.
And that's an older position that he took.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So one of the ways that we know that Borrelia is a persistent disease is because they have actually done experiments with monkeys where they infect them with Borrelia, they treat them with antibiotics, they do this other stuff, and they are later able to regrow the Borrelia from them. So it has been proven scientifically that Borrelia is persistent in living beings. It also has been proven in humans. I believe this was a woman from New York who died, and they autopsied her brain, and she had Borrelia after all these treatments. So it is something that does tend to hang around. It is hard to treat, and it is treatable. There are people that have recovered. So don't give up. All right. If you are stubborn enough, you'll get it. Okay. Yeah. So the Herxheimer, blah blah blah. Yeah, releases lipoproteins, and the body reacts to them, and you feel like crap. Only minute quantities need to be released in order to generate fever and other systemic symptoms. In other words, it's easy to get a Herx reaction. Okay. So, detox, detox, detox. Killing bacteria is only half the job. I would say, from what I know now, it's not even half, maybe a quarter of the job. So, detoxing is an important part. You want to kill the bacteria, you want to remove the toxins, and you want to take care of the terrain. You want to take care of the health of the body in ways that allows the body to recover from the disease process. And that includes working with the digestive system. It might be making sure that your elimination is working well. It might be taking care of what foods you eat, like do not eat gluten. It is like horrible for the digestive system, which is already under stress. You might want to take probiotics. You might want to make kefir for yourself. You might want to, buy a machine that makes yogurt, something. There are lots of ways that you can improve your health. Exercise, absolutely. To tolerance, sleep, whatever you need. Oh, here's an interesting thing. Apollo Neuro makes this funny little thing that you put on your wrist that vibrates, and it has different frequencies for different things, and they have a frequency that helps sleep. You can get a discount code for it if you look online under Perlmutter, the neurologist on YouTube, and he interviewed the guy that made these things. I can't remember the guy's name, but look up Apollo Neuro. And so if you have trouble sleeping, this thing helps. So it's one more expensive thing. But whatever it is that you can do to kind of help you be healthy is important. I'm trying to remember the name of that the chiropractor from California. I followed him a lot. He was really, yeah, Johanna.
Can you write those out in the chat? Some of the things you said,
I
I
can't
didn't know
right
how to
now, but
spell.
maybe Maria can.
I will be sending out links. I'm going to do a little research after the
Yeah,
session.
yeah. Do you know that guy that's the chiropractor from California who's a really big Lyme guy? It's been a while since I followed him, so I'm forgetting his name right now. I'll try to get it to you. But he's really good about, like, is your body healthy? What else do you need to do to make your body healthy? You know, that's that's why, like, killing is only a bit of it. Detoxing is important. Making your whole body is really important also. Okay. Here were some of my original favorite things for detox, and some of these are really simple.
Alka-Seltzer Gold is no longer manufactured.
What?
Really?
There's very
Oh,
little stock left,
If you
and
can buy it now, it is like the thing for a herx reaction.
if not, I can include in the notes the ingredients to
Oh,
Alka-Seltzer Gold.
oh, good job, Maria. Yeah, no, that was absolutely one of my go-tos. You know, I would go for like 2 hours in the morning, and I'd go, "Where's my Alka-Seltzer?" Go for another 2 hours. Where's my Alka-Seltzer? Lemon juice, great. Ume plum concentrate. This is really nice. This is one of the things I got from Robert Abettiello. You take a chopstick and you dip it in this really goopy stuff, and then you swirl it around some hot water, and you make a little tea out of it. So that's a really nice one. Um, so Smilax, I'm not sure how effective it is. Might be effective, but the other two are definitely effective. Berber Detox from Nutrimetics is one of the other ones that's like really good for herxing. And my favorite, cholestyramine. If you're one of the lucky people like me who have lousy genes and can't detox, and especially if you have mold, cholestyramine is really helpful. It's by prescription. It has become exorbitantly expensive. It's a cheap thing to make, and now it's like $90 a month. It's so ridiculous. Oh my gosh. But if you don't detox, if you have lousy genes and you don't detox, it definitely helps. Um, when I was really dealing with bad mold, I was taking 4 packs a day. Eek. All right. Glutathione. This stuff is really good. And it really helps keep things balanced more. I'm talking about balancing the body. Glutathione, a central component of the defense system. And it really helps to neutralize and eliminate free radicals, reduces oxidative stress. And you just need to take it once a day. Once again, one more expensive thing. This one is a particularly good one by research nutritionals, but you can find others. Just, shake it up, teaspoon, put it on a spoon, eat it, drink some water, and there you go. There is also a precursor to glutathione called N-acetylcysteine, which is in pill format. I don't think it's as effective, but it is at least something. NAC, N-acetylcysteine. And Epsom salts. Oh, thank goodness for Epsom salts. What would we do? What would we do without an Epsom salts bath? For years I took an Epsom salts bath every night. Hot water and Epsom salts. Helps you sleep, helps detox. Whew, thank goodness. Okay, so basically some of the stuff is stuff I said already. Use the frequencies that are in the machine, vary the frequencies. As the herxes become weaker, you can increase the time or try different frequencies. And I have Brian Rosner's book here.
I'll include the link to Brian Rosner's website where they can purchase the book.
Yeah.
I believe it's also available on the Amazon.
Yeah. Oh, it's backwards, isn't it?
No,
Wait.
you're all set.
Oh, you can see it. Okay. So, yeah, Lyme disease and Rife machines by Brian Rosner, Bryanrosner. That's really a good book. It's an older book. It has some older stuff in it, but it's actually really a good book. Better to undertreat than overtreat. I've said this over and over and over again because it's really common when you're feeling really lousy to want to treat more. Don't. Enough is enough. They also have frequencies for the other fun things, Bartonella, Babesia, Ehrlichia, and of course, watch out for Candida because, if you're on antibiotics, that's likely to come calling. People also run detox frequencies on their Rife machines. I don't know what to say about that. I figure if it works, fine. I can't say if it works. I know some of those other things work. Johanna, have you tried detox frequencies?
No,
Okay.
but I'm working on chronic fatigue um,
Okay.
frequencies.
Okay.
But I need to go back and look at the book and see what else might work.
Okay. All right, and there are the references, which
Whoa.
Maria can send you.
They will be sent.
Okay. I think that is it.
So there are some questions and comments in the chat.
All right, let me see what the
And
chat says here.
Mhm.
Okay. Haven't figured out how to set the Spooky 2 up. There are YouTube videos for that. Look up Spooky 2 on YouTube. And they're actually pretty good. It used to be absolutely horrible when I first got it. Like you couldn't figure it out to save your life. But they have improved it quite a bit. So try the YouTube videos.
the effects across the room or in another city or country. You were talking about distance healing.
Oh, I was starting at the top. Should I go to the bottom first?
No, that was Johanna had asked earlier.
Okay. So Johanna, what was your question again?
Just, I think you answered it. How does it work um, in another country? You were saying you give the you give it like your fingernails or
Yep.
something that tells
Yep.
it's not just okay, here's my machine. She's in
No, you
Sweden,
have to
go for it.
put your DNA in it, and fingernails
Got
are
it.
an easy source
Got
of
it.
DNA. Yeah. 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 Okay. Um, in the spooky forum, a version that worked well with the scan function, and then software updates that didn't work as well. I don't know. I haven't tried that. Um, so, I have a tendency to both believe and disbelieve things, as you've noticed with some of the things I've said. The scan function, I'm always like, is this real? Does this really mean anything? Does it really do anything? So I always approach it that way. So I do it, I try it. I'm like, does it work? I don't know. I don't know. So I guess I personally, well, especially where I am right now, I wouldn't worry about it. Although the other day I did think, I wonder if I should run the scan on this Vicky too. So maybe I'll run it and see what happens. I don't know. um, when frequencies stop working, do they eventually work again? They can. They can. Yeah. Because bacteria are always, changing and growing. So you kill a certain number of bacteria with a certain frequency. Some of them become dormant. They may pop back up again later, and then might respond to that same frequency. So yeah, I think that is true that they may work again later. I've gotten to the point now where I just don't herx. So I can run the Rife machine. And I'm like, So it's hard to say. Did I kill all the buggers, or did I just kill enough of them, or what? Hard to say.
Janet, your question is kind of broad about the best approach for chronic Lyme. Do you have a specific question?
It is, Maria. I can't argue with that. Um, um, Maybe the specific question would be more in terms of at what point do you introduce the Rife machine? And I do want to say I have used a Rife machine in the past on a few occasions on other issues. And then I had a little bit of medical trauma because the provider used it on me and didn't tell me he was doing a Lyme frequency, even though we had already discussed the possibility that I had chronic Lyme. The pain, the herxing pain I had was like nothing I've never experienced in my life. It was horrible.
It can be bad. So you can use it. So you know you have Lyme and you know it works. Okay, just like 30 seconds, right?
Does that tell me I have Lyme? Definitely.
Oh yeah. Oh, people used to say to me, "I have this and this and this going on." I'd say, "You want to prove it? You come sit in front of my machine. I'll show you have Lyme disease." I just have them sit there and herx, and I go, "See, you have Lyme disease."
Okay. I mean, maybe this is too granular, Kim, but does it because so much of the pain was in my legs and my lower body, does that in terms of identifying specific which one of the B's that might be?
I don't think you can relate that at all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any local physician for chronic Lyme and co-infections?
I'll let Maria answer that.
Yeah.
Janet, we can talk
We can
further.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tessa has some questions.
Yeah. Tessa, you want to go ahead and ask your questions?
Sure, yeah. So I know there's not a lot of research, but I guess one question is from your research, the research that you have been able to find, if it can impact viruses and bacteria, I mean, it can impact human cells. How do we know what frequencies potentially could interfere with, neurologic function, tissue function? Yeah, that I guess that's one question.
Yeah, it's a great question. We don't know. We don't know because they won't let us study it.
And you mentioned, I saw this online a bit too, about the FDA like really aggressively kind of, I mean, it seems aggressive, like looking for people selling Rife machines and shutting it down.
Yep.
Is there any research that shows that this doesn't work? Like, is there?
No, the research shows that it does work.
Yeah.
Like the Canadian company that, they did, it was a case study, but they showed that it worked. There are a number of things that show that it worked, but they're never going to get it published in a medical journal,
And then the Spooky 2, it sounds like it comes pre-programmed with set like frequencies. Do they have it besides for Lyme? Do they have it for?
They have thousands of frequencies.
So you wouldn't really need the book, or do you still
You
recommend
don't.
the book?
You don't really need the book. I do think I think Brian Rosner's book is good. It has a nice overview of things. I don't know how much it costs these days, but it has a nice overview of things that I think is helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not 100% necessary. There's plenty of stuff on YouTube. You can, if you're trying to save a little money, you get the Spooky Tube and watch stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have questions? Oh, let's see.
Problems, concussion, ligament injuries. Oh, it is working. Okay. Interesting. So, yeah. So I have standard allopathic medical education, which makes me want to know why things work and how they work. So when I see things like a Rife machine can treat X, and they name, I don't know, like, a hammer toe. I'll be like, that is such bullshit. I'm sorry. Just, So, I don't know. So, but here you are saying that when you have had treatment with a frequency machine for these things, it has worked. I believe that. When people say, I tried it and it worked, I say, okay, that's great.
I think they're asking, is there other published resources for something such as a spinal cord problem that
Well, you can look under the look at the CAFL and see what they say. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. So one of the things that's good is to have a really broad view of what treatments are possibly available. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. The Rife Machine is one thing, and it's a good thing, but it's not the only thing. So I've done reading from a number of different doctors. Greg Lee, who is an acupuncturist in Maryland, who was a NASA scientist before he went back to study Chinese medicine, is brilliant. And he has all kinds of great ideas. And he treats people with Lyme disease with all kinds of stuff. So he's using hydrogen. He's using inhaled hydrogen, but there are also hydrogen water generators. And that seems to be something that's helpful. One of the other things that has been studied at Johns Hopkins with Zhang and company is what is it that kills Borrelia besides antibiotics? So they looked at herbs and they found that cinnamon, clove, and oregano, the oils of those substances, kill Borrelia even in the most dormant phase more effectively than any antibiotics. So you can buy, you don't have to do all the stuff I went through, you can buy liposomal preparations of cinnamon, clove, and oregano oil. And be careful, because you can herx with that. Okay? Now, I tried doing it orally, putting it in enteric-coated capsules and suppositories and everything else, and I finally bought an ultrasound machine and made my own liposomal preparations of cinnamon, clove, and oregano oil, and took them regularly, and that was one of the things that finally got me over the last hump. So you can do all kinds of things to kind of help yourself out. Be creative. Definitely herbs. The Buhner herbs are very important. Look at Marty Ross. He's one of the best Lyme docs. He has tons of stuff published. And basically he says if he had to pick two herbs, he would use Cryptolepis and Japanese knotweed. That's not too bad. You can use those too. No? Pulsed electromagnetic frequency.
we will be having a workshop on PEMF
There you go.
coming up later this year.
Great. Because I don't know that. Yeah. Yeah. So, if you're somebody who is really sensitive, you may want to also go see a classical homeopath and find out what your constitutional remedy is in homeopathy and use that to kind of help balance your system. You can also use flower essences. Flower essences are very gentle and effective. They can help shift patterns. So, there are certain kinds of psychological patterns we get into when we have Lyme disease, like the world is horrible. I'm depressed, I want to die, right? It's a terrible thing. And some of those kind of energy medicines can sometimes help to shift some of those patterns.
And everybody's different. Everybody reacts differently to these different treatments that have been discussed.
Yeah.
That proceed with caution, proceed with the help of a qualified practitioner.
Yes. Yes. Actually, I wanted to say that earlier because the question that Janet asked, what is the best approach? Get a good Lyme doctor and talk with them. I mean, I'm somebody who pushes, right? I write everything down, This is my concern. I'll go back and reread my notes. I was seeing Brummer for a while, who was great. He was a tremendous help. And I was rereading my notes at one point, like, I don't know, like a year and a half into this, and I was like, you said at one time you thought I might have Bartonella. And he was like, oh, that's right. I said, what if we treat Bartonella? So, you have to kind of be your own best help and keep a log. Write everything down. How you feel, what you've taken, what it's done. Every day. My log has stopped for several years now, but really, it makes a huge difference because you go back and you go, oh, wait a minute, that was actually helpful. And then I stopped it because I had such brain fog, I forgot to order it, right? So anyway, I do put a Rife machine in the absolute top of important treatments for Lyme disease. And it might not be for everybody, but like I said, if somebody is like, do I have Lyme disease? I'll say, I'll show you if you do or not. Come sit in front of my Rife machine.
And if people find that financially they can't swing purchasing, there are organizations out there and foundations that are offering grant money for treatment options.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah, if I had to do this all over again, I would have been so much better off if I had done herbal treatment like for a whole year when I first got bitten. I just didn't know enough. I didn't know enough. And then I would not have gone down that rabbit hole, and I wouldn't have had to take so many antibiotics. I wouldn't have had all the problems that came with antibiotics, and I would have had, everything else. But if you're persistent enough, almost every problem can be resolved. So, in treating Bartonella, I was using the fluoroquinolone antibiotics, which caused bilateral Achilles tendonitis and tendonitis in my elbows, and that can cause tendon ruptures. And then I get to read about, oh, guess what? Antibiotics kill mitochondria. Mitochondria are the power plants of cells. They're ancient bacteria that have been incorporated into our cells that give our cells energy. Antibiotics kill them. Antibiotics that kill things, cidal antibiotics kill them. Static antibiotics, bacteriostatic, do not kill them. So doxycycline won't kill them, but ceftin does kill them. And I'm like, why would I want to take something that kills my mitochondria? Then, you get to look at what happens when people get fluoroquinolone toxicity. They can die from that, killing their mitochondria. What joy. So I think that the natural stuff is better if you can. And I put the Rife machine more under natural stuff than antibiotics. Antibiotics at this point are my lowest, last choice of things.
And there's other people that's the answer, and they're so sensitive to the herbal products that they just can't do the herbals. So very important to follow what your body can tolerate.
Thanks, Maria.
And Tessa was asking about financial support organizations. I will send out the links to those organizations.
Anyway, don't give up. Keep going. It is possible.
Final questions?
Okay, Janet.
I just want to shout out a big thank you, Kim. Your information was presented in a very linear way that was really practical. And for my brain fog, it really was as understandable as can be. So, and the content, it just really very, very helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I finally remembered the name of the chiropractor, J. Davidson.
Thank
So,
you, Kim.
you're welcome. And I'm glad that was helpful. Yeah, I'm glad it was helpful.
So thank you.
I do have one really quick question. You were talking about a wristband for sleep?
Yeah, so this is called the Apollo Neuro. And if you look on YouTube, David Perlmutter and Apollo Neuro, he interviews the guy that created this. They started using it for PTSD, and then he found it was also good for sleep. Actually, for PTSD with Lyme disease is not bad either. It's actually a pretty remarkable little thing. Again, it's not cheap, but it is effective.
I will include the link for that.
Yeah.
Approximately.
Oh, like $300 and something, you know.
Maria.
Sleep is really important.
It is really important. It is.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Kim. I do not have Lyme, but a member of my family has lots of effects from the last years.
It's my mother.
And I've seen and I understand. This is why I like to inform myself. Also, I'm a yoga teacher, retired, but I've also looked at alternative. My whole family has had the same acupuncturist, and I think he's about retired now, but he was also an herbalist, and I followed a lot of, I call them complementary things.
Yeah.
So, and I am a Reiki practitioner also. So
Yeah.
this has
Yeah.
been very interesting. I want to have knowledge because personally too, it's affected our family, but also any health things I'm very much interested in. So thank you.
You're welcome. And actually, that's a really good thing to add, Joyce. It's really easy to take first degree Reiki. People teach it all over the place. I actually have Reiki also. And so in the middle of the night when I was, going through some kind of horror, I would do Reiki on myself. It's a really nice thing to add to help you feel better. There's
Absolutely.
about it, yeah.
And it's affordable
And it's affordable, right?
to
Especially when you
train.
treat yourself. Or you can get a
Yeah.
group together and treat each other. That's even better. And I guess I
Yeah.
should add one other thing, going into alternative stuff. So one of the reasons that I have been able to do pretty well is because I have a long-term meditation practice. And that is very helpful. And I actually am teaching meditation in Northampton. And my center is River Valley Insight. It's like River Valley Co-op, but it's River Valley Insight. And if anybody would like to join in, I would be happy to have you. So that can sometimes be helpful also.
Online. You teach online?
I do. I did have a space in downtown Northampton, and then I had some medical issues, and I had mold in my house, and I had to do a total mold remediation, and had a couple surgeries, and so I had to give up my space. So I don't have a space right now. If I ever get a benefactor and they want to give me money to get a space again, then I will. But for now, I'm teaching online.
Great.
I wish I was in Northampton, but I'm not.
You can zoom in with us if you want, Joyce.
Michelle had asked about sound frequencies, and I think you're asking about something different than the Rife machine. The Rife machine does not make a sound.
Yeah. Sound recording transmits soundlessly. I don't know. I haven't heard of that. Yeah. I don't know. I do know that, certain electromagnetic frequencies do kill the Borrelia, 432, 610, 612, 5000. There are a number of them that are pretty, like, guaranteed. If you run it, you'll herx.
So thank you everyone for some really great questions and interactions. And thank you, Kim, for taking the time today to share your knowledge and all your research into all the different healing modalities. Very grateful.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for what you do. Really appreciate it. And I wish everybody the best of luck with this stuff. You can do it. It's doable.